Hello. Um, it has been a while since I've just kind of talked without any gameplay or any other video kind of going on in the background, which I may throw up Subway Surfers just so you idiots have something to watch. But yeah, I figured I'd finally make this story kind of telling how I figured it out and how I came out and how I knew. For those of you who don't know from the title and the thumbnail, yes, I'm talking about how I figured out that I'm gay and how I came to accept it and everything. If that's not something you're interested in, please feel free to move on to a different video. Skip this one if you want to. It's not for everybody, but it's just something I kind of wanted to put out there and throw out there so that maybe my story might help somebody else kind of realize maybe they're in a similar situation, or help somebody ease into things a little bit, or just somebody hears it and is like, oh, so that's how it happened. Any of those are considered a win for me. So as you all know, I am a gamer, and usually I would like play video games whenever I talk about stuff or do things or like make videos, but this is kind of a more personal topic, so it warrants a bit of a more personal approach. So I was raised in a very, very Bible thumper area of the South where we'll call it the alternative lifestyle was not necessarily looked at as like a freedom kind of thing. It was more so demonized. And for a very, very long while, I was going to church with my Nana, who very much is not a fan of homosexuality or any of that stuff, which is perfectly fine. I don't fault her for it. She's from like a different time with different beliefs. It is what it is. But for the longest time, I was just like, I didn't understand why, but I thought being gay was wrong, and it was kind of because of how I was raised up and everything. And then around middle school, I started realizing that there are certain guys or certain types of guys that I find attractive. And for a decent bit, I was going on, and I figured out that I might possibly be bisexual, which took a lot to accept for me at the time, but I was like, that's okay. I like guys and girls, but at least I still like girls. I'm not gay, Oh boy, did I not know what was coming. So fast forward a little bit later on, and I'm in high school, and I've had some experiences with women, and I find myself more leaning towards trying to figure out something new. So I've got this friend who was he was a friend of mine back in middle school, and he had come out in middle school, and I was like the only person that would still talk to him and be around him for like a month or two, maybe longer, after he had first came out, and then everybody else started being his friend again. Well, I asked him if we could kind of try things out, see how it went. Now, I won't get into the long and the short of that story because I don't think I can without like accidentally revealing too many details, and I don't want to call anybody out. But things didn't work out too well, but I did figure out that I was into guys. And I grappled with that for a good bit, trying to figure out what it meant and if I was fully gay or if I was just kind of leaning more towards guys at the time. And I didn't really figure it out fully yet. And then I graduate high school, and I, still don't fully know. I'm still going with the bisexual label because that's kind of what I figure at the point. And I have another experience with another woman, and then I tried dating dudes. And honestly, it felt better, more right to me, I guess you would say. So I guess technically I am kind of bisexual, but I'm more so leaning towards guys, which is why I consider it gay. But at this very point, I do have a boyfriend, like I'm dating somebody, and things are going well. But I, for the longest point, did not know how to accept that or process that. The fact that I was like gay and like fully into men pretty much after all this pretty much training throughout my life that that's, not the way to go or the correct way to be. And so it was a lot for me to try and figure out how to tell people, because I didn't want to come off as like, one of those or whatever. But very luckily for me, my family, apart from my grandparents who still don't know, were very, very accepting of me. I called my mother one night, drunk off my ass, crying my eyes out, telling her about it and how I've been dating somebody for a couple months and this and that. And she literally had just said to me, okay, well, I mean, that's fine. As long as you're happy, that's fine. And I felt so great hearing that, honestly. And I know not everybody has the privilege that they will hear that from their family if they come out. But I was lucky enough that I was able to hear that. And I didn't really face any problems because of it. I mean, like, yeah, whenever people find out, they make some gay jokes here and there, or they might be a little bigoted. But trust me, anything you can think to say, I have said much, much worse in the format of a joke. So it's not like calling me a fucking an F slur is gonna bother me or anything like that. I don't give a shit. I don't care. You call me the F slur, I'll give you like 6 more so that way you can say something I haven't heard before. I don't give a shit. That's just kind of the person that I am. But I mean, yeah, it's not a grandiose story, but it's a story nonetheless, and something that can be shared and possibly help someone else. Yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. For the longest time, I was like, I'm not gay, I'm not bi, none of that stuff. It's all wrong. And then I ended up being bi, and I was like, well, at least I'm not gay. And then I ended up being gay. Now, there was a little bit of an extra part to that story, which I will get into, which was the femboy part. Now, that one's an interesting one. So, I had gotten to the point where I had accepted pretty much, okay, I'm gay. I like guys. All right, I guess. Fucking gonna be some problems in the future, but that's fine. And then the very next thought in my head was, but at least I'm not a femboy. Oh boy. It started off because I was attracted to femboys, like feminine dressed men with kind of like the thick thighs and like the certain build and whatnot, the thigh highs, the whole 9 yards. And then one time, as a joke, I tried on thigh highs. And I was like, these actually feel pretty good. And then it just kind of started spiraling from there. I actually got myself some thigh highs and then a crop top, and then I tried them on and liked them, and then kind of just became part of that. It just kind of became part of my identity, and I was like, well, fuck. Because it was literally every time I was like, well, I'm this, but at least I'm not this, I would always become the at least I'm not. So it's like, oh, I'm bi, but at least I'm not gay, becomes gay. Oh, I'm gay, but at least I'm not a femboy, becomes a femboy. So I've stopped saying at least I'm not, because things happen, the things that you would least expect tend to be what ends up happening in real life. Real life is much stranger than fiction. But yeah, there's the bit of the story. So if anyone was curious, there it is. If you weren't curious, you're not here anyway, so I'm not talking to you. And if you're just kind of here listening to it and you're just like, interesting, fair enough. It's not grandiose, it's nothing like big or super, but it's my story, and I figured, like I said, telling it might end up helping somebody or helping someone understand, or somebody who's in a similar situation. They might look at themselves and go, and figure something out about themselves a little bit faster than I did and a little bit easier than I did. So, I know it's a little bit of a different video than I usually post, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.